Hi everyone, it's Darlene Brighter. I am a vibrational astrologer and an intuitive tarot reader. This is my weekly video that I put out about the astrological energies that are going on for the week ahead. This is looking at Monday, December 9th through Sunday, December 15th, 2019. What I talk about in the video is vibrational astrology because that's what kind of astrologer I am. I look at particularly the transiting midpoints. So they are interesting way to look at astrology. I think they pack a bigger energy punch for us to work with than just looking at two planet patterns. And I think they make a lot of sense. So I'd love to hear your feedback on how this forecast resonates with you or doesn't. Of course, this is for all signs. This isn't any particular sign or anything like that. It's the cosmic energy that we're working with in this moment. So I'd love to hear your feedback on how it resonates or not with you. Also, I will be talking about the full moon in Gemini, which there is actually a really tight midpoint with Uranus at the moon Neptune midpoint right during the full moon. It is only 6 minutes. That midpoint is only 6 minutes out of being completely, exact. So it's really going to be a psychic kind of energy aside from being a full moon. Well, I'll talk about more when I get to the full moon, but it's an intense and interesting full moon. So stick with me, listen to the report, and let me know what you think. Before I get started, I want to tell you you can find me. I'm also a consultant. You can find me on my website at rockstarastrologer.com. Links are in the description box. And I do have other things that I'm doing, and links are in the description box with those too. I'm not going to go over them because I've gone over them a few times, but check out the description box to see other things that's going on that I'm going to be presenting and so on and so forth, in the future. So I'm going to jump right into the midpoints that are going on. These midpoints, these first couple of midpoints had started last week, but they actually peak on Monday, the 9th, and they'll go on, throughout this week. The first one is the sun at the Mars-Pluto midpoint. So this started on the 8th, which was Sunday of last week, which was yesterday because I'm actually putting this out on Monday. And it peaks on Monday and it goes to Tuesday. So the sun at Mars-Pluto is a really strong energy that has us focused towards working hard and accomplishing lots of things. The one cautionary thing I will tell you, and it is Monday morning, right, that it's really strong, is try not to burn the candle at both ends because it seems like you might be trying to do too many things at one time. If you're feeling like that, just take a step back, take a deep breath, and know that you can slowly take your time at doing one thing at a time, and then you can make, a lot more headway as opposed to trying to do 10 things at a time. So this is something that you might be compulsively trying to do. That Mars-Pluto energy is intense, and then the sun is just illuminating it. So it's like, hey, this is what's bright. This is what's going on. So if you feel like you've been doing a lot of things at one time, take a step back, pick one thing, do that, then go to the next. That's a great way to use this energy. You'll get a lot accomplished no matter what. And again, this goes till Tuesday. The next one that had actually happened last week too, it started on Sunday as well. It does peak on Monday as well and lasts till Tuesday, is Mercury at the Sun-Mars midpoint. So here we have another Sun energy and another Mars energy, but this time it's Mercury. So what's going on here is we have a struggle in our mind that's like almost like our mind is super, super charged. We might even be feeling like we're overflowing or we're thinking too much. This Mercury at the Sun-Mars midpoint, it's like our mind is like really racing. Mercury being the planet that's in the center of the midpoint is really the one that's like on the highlight here, but Sun-Mars is like, energy city, right? And it's wonderful, but it can, if it's in our head here, we might be going overtime in our head. So if you catch yourself doing that, bring it back to reminding yourself that, hey, okay, I can think and be positive, but I make sure that my attention is focused on something that I really want, as opposed to something you don't, because that's definitely not going to get you anywhere. But if you're feeling like you're just reeling and you're not getting anywhere, then take a break. You may not feel like taking a break, But sometimes we have to discipline ourselves and remind ourselves that this is the best way to really take care of ourselves, is to be disciplined. And if you need to take a break, then take a break. If you need to get this energy out of you in some way, maybe you pick up a journal and you write in your journal, or, you know, express yourself in some way, because Mercury is about expression and communication. Maybe you go and sing something, you know, like go sing in the shower. I don't know, something that will allow you to express this energy if you feel like you really need to. And if you feel like you're just reeling, then that means it's time to take a break and probably try to express it in some healthy way. You know, if you don't feel like you need to express it, maybe you can just get in your mind and allow your mind to be more blissed out. You know, that's kind of something you could do to work with this energy. So the next few midpoints are midpoints that will happen throughout the week, and they will finish this week as well. The first one is Venus at the Saturn-Pluto midpoint. This one is only one day midpoint, and usually I don't talk about midpoints if they last less than a day, but this one's one day midpoint. It's at on the 12th. So, you know, the 12th is what day? The 12th is Thursday. So it happens the day after the full moon, which I haven't gotten to yet because I'm still talking about the midpoints. But, you know, it is a really strong tendency towards asceticism. So you may feel like you don't want to, you know, be around other people. You may feel a little bit negative. That Pluto-Saturn energy isn't easy. But when we throw in Venus there, and Venus is the focus planet here, because Venus is the midpoint of Saturn-Pluto. So it's right between Saturn and Pluto. Remember, they're about 3 degrees away from each other in Capricorn. So Venus is transiting right through that little space that is between them. That's what a midpoint is. And so we throw Venus in there, and we have this desire for self-discipline, this desire to really maybe even seclude ourselves, but not in a negative way, you know, because it's Venus. Now, Saturn Pluto in itself is like seclusion, asceticism, is like difficulty, it's like struggle. But, you know, putting Venus in there, it's almost saying, hey, okay, so let's lovingly do this with ourselves. Let's do something that is powerful and meaningful to this seclusion that we're doing. You know, sometimes we get so wrapped up in this world with our phones and our technology and stuff like that. We live in such an interesting world now, these times that we live in, that we forget that it's important to like be ourselves and be human, you know, and not so into the world, you know, be ourselves and be around other people. And, you know, maybe you don't want to be around other people during this energy. I can see people wanting to have some space and some alone time. And if you're able to do that, I think that's wonderful. But I definitely think having the discipline to be able to create what you really want to, because that is also what Venus is about, creation, and like, you know, making something and being attracted to something, you know, that is beautiful. That is what Venus is about. I think that this is kind of giving us a chance to do that. So this happens on the 12th, which I said was Thursday. And then on Saturday and Sunday and the following Monday, so the 14th through the 16th, with the peak on Sunday, which is the 16th, which is the 15th, this is Pluto at the midpoint of Venus-Saturn. So what happens is Venus crosses over Pluto, gets on the other side, puts Pluto in the middle, and Saturn on the other side. So this happens. It takes a few extra days for this to fall away from each other, because the last one was only a day, but then we have like a day reprieve, and then we have Pluto at the midpoint of Venus-Saturn. These are all the same planets, but since Pluto is the one that's in the center this time, as opposed to last time where Venus was in the center of Saturn-Pluto, Pluto is in the center of Venus-Saturn. This gives it a different flavor altogether. And what this means is that we have a strong drive and compulsion to do something, a strong drive and compulsion to things that we love, that we feel we are attracted to, but that are meaningful. Like if you're in a frivolous relationship, you're in a superficial relationship, you have superficial friends, you're not really content with your home because it's very you know, like it doesn't feel as if it's um as if it's in a good space, or you're, you know, content with what you're doing with yourself, like on an emotional level. You may have this compulsion to be, you know, very driven by the things that you love. But the things that you love are going to also be very real. You know, you're going to be connected to those things that you feel really real to. I would caution anyone during this time to not allow yourself to get too over compulsory, because if you do, you could feel very chaotic, you know, and it could mean that you feel as if things are just kind of out of reach for you. And that's not healthy for anybody. So try to remember that this aspect, although it lasts a few days, it's not an aspect, this midpoint, although it lasts a few days, is actually, you know, fleeting. It is temporary. It's not something that's going to be going on forever. So try to allow yourself to feel these emotions, let them come out, because, you know, Pluto is about, you know, surfacing the things that we've kind of held deep inside of ourselves. Let it come out and release it and let it go, you know. And the Venus Saturn energy is saying, you know, again, it's reiterating something I've been talking about a lot, about like, are you happy in the connections, the family connections, the love connections, the things that you feel loved and attracted to and from and with? Are you happy with them? If you are, great, wonderful, then keep it going. If you aren't, then you need to take a step back and say, okay, how can I fix this? You know, what can I do? And that's also, the Pluto energy is also saying, reform it in some way, you know. Just don't drive yourself crazy trying to get it, you know, to reform yourself. But that's the midpoints that are going on this week, that end this week. The midpoint that begins this week and ends next week is Mercury at the midpoint of Mars and Jupiter. So this starts on the 15th and goes to the 16th. So the 15th, sorry, the 15th is Sunday, and it goes to Monday and peaks on Monday as well. So Mercury at Mars Jupiter. So Mars Jupiter really makes ourselves energetic towards the things that we want to see outside in the world. You know, we want to, you know, plan trips. We want to do something exciting. We want to dig into our philosophy. If we're not planning a trip, we're doing it in a mental sense. And because it is Mercury at the midpoint of this Mars Jupiter, it is a mental thing. We might want to explore things that are outside of our normal realm of what we, you know, work on. You know, it's interesting because this is also backed up by the Mercury ingress into Saturn, which happens on Monday. But I'll get to that in a minute. But I do think that this midpoint happening at the end of the week and into the next week is really saying, hey, it's time to explore those new ideas inside of ourselves. You know, it's time to give ourselves an opportunity to focus on, you know, something that is bigger than we were. Mercury has been in Sagittarius, sorry, Mercury's been in Scorpio for a long freaking time. Look, Mercury has been in Scorpio since I think October 8th. And then it retrograded almost to the end. I think it got to 27 degrees. And then it got to 27 degrees and it retrograded. And then it went back over those degrees, and it will be leaving Sagittarius on Monday, leaving Scorpio on Monday, entering into Sagittarius. So in that sense, it's like we have been heavily thinking about things. So I think this Mercury, Mars, Jupiter that comes at the end of this week after Mercury has already moved into Sagittarius is really giving us a chance to say, okay, let's expand our minds a little bit. Let's do something that's kind of fun with our minds. So like, give yourself next weekend an opportunity to do that. Pick up a philosophical book, pick up a spiritual book, pick up some kind of idea, go to a class that you've always wanted to, but you haven't done so. You know, do something like that, because it will help you, you know, propel you into the next phase of yourself, you know, the next energy of where your thought patterns should be. And that's the mercurial energy there. So those are our midpoints for this week, minus the midpoint I'm going to talk about during the full moon when I talk about the full moon. I'm going to move now into the 2 planet aspects and the ingresses of the planets. The first one is Monday the 9th. Is Mercury ingresses into the sign of Sagittarius. Like I said, Mercury was in Scorpio forever, it felt like. I think we'll all be rejoicing, even though it's a Monday, that you know, Mercury is finally moving out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius. It stays there till the 28th of December, when Mercury moves into Capricorn. So it'll be about 3 weeks that it's into the sign of Sagittarius, which is normally how it works, unless it retrogrades, of course. So here we have our thoughts, kind of inclined towards being more philosophical, much like I was talking about with the last midpoint, which I think the midpoints and of course everything else reflect each other, of course, because it's all the same. We're just talking about it from a different perspective when we talk about midpoints. But this is the desire to think outside of the box. This is our higher awareness coming to the front of ourselves. You know, we're getting this intellect that is, you know, not something that we always have, that ability to look outside of the box. So I think it's important for us to like really release some of those tensions, those mental tensions that we may have had and been going through during the Mercury transiting through the sign of Scorpio. And now we'll be able to open our minds and think lightlier about things, not so intensely about things, because you know, Mercury is governed by Jupiter, and Jupiter is the planet of expansion and awareness. And that was, interestingly enough, the last midpoint that I talked about was that Mercury at Mars Jupiter. So going on to Tuesday the 10th, we have no exact aspects to talk about except for lunar aspects, of course, which I don't talk about unless I talk about the full moon or new moons. Then we have Wednesday the 11th. We have Venus conjunct Saturn. This goes along with the Venus, Saturn, Pluto stuff I was talking about with the midpoints, the 2 midpoints I was talking about. This does happen at 5:04 a.m. and the times that I tell these times in are Eastern Standard USA time. So if you live in another time zone, you'll just have to do the math to figure out the exact time. So Venus conjunct Saturn. I actually love these 2 planets. I think that they are really helpful to each other. They both want to acquire things. They both want to have something, right? Venus is the ruler of Taurus and ruler of Libra. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn and the ancient ruler of Aquarius. So they want to acquire things. They want to have things. This is like an archetypal look at Venus and Saturn. And, you know, Venus is, what does it want? It wants to acquire love and beauty. It wants to have that connection to love and beauty. Saturn wants to have that connection to what is real and deep and meaningful. And so, you know, if you look around your life and you see things that are not meaningful to you or not loving or speak to your heart as far as what you want to carry on to the next journey of your life, then you might want to let those things go, and you might not have a choice but to let them go. And what I mean by this is, like, say it could be a relationship, right? And that's pretty easy, right, to figure out if it's a relationship. Or it could be like, you know, you're looking at your room or your office, your space, and you're like, gosh, I haven't really, you know, dug in and taken care of my space for some time. I have all these old clothes I need to get rid of. And you might feel like purging them. You might feel like, and that might be something you actually do on purpose, you know, because, like, you know, clothing is a way of showing your artistic side by the way you dress. I mean, not some people dress that way, at least, and this may be you, but, you know, you might want to just decide to purge that, you know, and to get rid of all the things that aren't meaningful to you, you know. And the same with your home. If there's some things in your home that you're like, not really feeling that so much, maybe it's time to purge that as well. So think about it from that context. You know, this is our opportunity to say, hey, let's clear the slate, because, you know, we can't attract new things into our lives if we're holding on to all these things from the past, right? The thing that I tell people, my clients, when they tell me they want to attract something new in their life, I say, then, you know, clean up your life in some way or another. So if you want to attract a new wardrobe, you go clean out your closet. If you want to attract a new boyfriend, go clean your bedroom and take care of your physical body, because, you know, there's a physical element to, you know, relationships. So, you know, you want to do those things. Why? Because you're making room for something to come into your life. If we don't do that, and that's this Venus Saturn energy, then we are doing ourselves a disservice and saying, okay, we really don't want this relationship, new clothes, whatever it is that we're seeking. You know, so I love this Venus Saturn energy. A lot of people will say Venus Saturn is like aesthetic. It doesn't want to go anywhere. It feels depressed. It can. It really can. That can be a symptom of Venus Saturn. But I want you to look at it. And I'm not Pollyanna when I talk about this, because what I believe and what vibrational astrology is the understanding that there is a vibration in the sky that's going on that we are all intertwined in. And of course, it does affect us differently depending on what planets we're connected with, but we're intertwined into this as a vibration, as everybody is intertwined into this, just like, you know, the planets are part of us. And because of that, we have to decide to work with it or not, you know. And that's why I say, looking at your home and saying, and the relationships and all of this, and saying, can I let go of things that aren't meaningful to me? That might be something you automatically do, or that might be something you really have the urge to do, or you might plan it, as opposed to, you know, holding on to something and feeling melancholy and not wanting to let go because you feel this strong draw to it for reasons that are from the past and they really don't belong in your future. So think about it from that perspective. I think astrology is interesting, and vibrational astrology in particular has this great way of looking at things and helping us use the energies in the best way possible, you know. So, okay, that's Venus Saturn. I'm going to talk about Thursday the 12th, and that is the full moon in Gemini. So full moons are awesome. They give us a lot of energy. In this particular one, because it's Gemini, it gives us energy to express ourselves. Gemini is a mutable air sign. It's the first air sign. It gives us a chance to really express the things that we have accomplished from the last full moon that was in Taurus that happened last month. So if you did listen to my video and you think about the Taurus full moon, when I talked about how we were like building our empire, whatever that meant for us, now it's time to express it. Now it's time to share it with the world. Now it's time to open it up to the world. So, you know, I think this is a great chance and opportunity for us to do that. There's a midpoint that happens right on the full moon. It's Uranus at the midpoint of Moon Neptune. So it also has the full moon energy to it. And it's a 6-minute orb. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but that's a really tight orb. It's almost exact. So this midpoint from at the full moon with Uranus at Moon Neptune, this is very psychic. So you have the opportunity to really like do some astrological magic during this time. If you're wanting to attract something into your world that is involving communication, then it's time to think about, how can I express that in some way? Maybe light a blue candle, or work with some blue crystals or something like that. How can I help myself and, you know, express these intentions outward to the world? You know, this is all about the Gemini full moon. And then with this Uranus Moon Neptune energy, it's very much like expressing what you want and asking for it, because I think that's a big thing we need to remember. We have to ask for what we want. And I think it's a great time to do that. So, and of course, like I said, it is clearing the space for creating something new in your life, or drawing something new into your life. So the next day is Friday the 13th. We have two things going on. The first one is Mars trine Neptune. That happens at 6:56 a.m. And this energy has us being really intuitive. Neptune is not known for its like go get up and go, you know, kind of energy. But Mars is. Mars is our energy, and it's like, hey, I want to do this. Hey, I want to go be busy. I want to, you know, do whatever I need to do to get things done. You know, I'm busy, busy, busy. But Neptune's not necessarily known that. These two making this really nice trine with each other, we kind of feel like we want to intuitively tap into ourselves or other people and kind of figure out what we should be focused on. So Neptune being about our highest ideals, you might think about the things that you really want to create in this world and have some kind of smooth action towards creating those things. You know, you may want to think about the things that you want to manifest and start to take action upon them, because you'll have that energy to do that. Trines are known to be lazy sometimes, but they're also known to be smooth. And Mars is giving us the energy to say, hey, I want to put some action to my desires. So this is an interesting energy for us on Friday. Also on Friday, we have Venus conjunct Pluto. Like I talked about Venus conjunct Saturn on, what day was it? Let's see. That was Wednesday. Now Venus has moved along and made its conjunction with Pluto. And this happens on Friday. This happens at 10:13 a.m. Eastern Time. And, you know, Wednesday we were stripped down. We were let go of the things that we weren't really connected to. We were kind of releasing, letting go. We were also clearing our space and letting room come to, you know, clearing our space to let room happen so that new things can come into the picture. You know, Venus making this conjunction to Pluto can kind of make us compulsory towards the things that we love. We may want to bring things to ourselves that we love. Make sure you're bringing what you really want, as opposed to just doing it because you feel the strong desire to draw something near to you. Because I think our energy during Venus conjunct Pluto is very alluring to other people. So it's important to remember that what we're alluring to ourselves, or what we're attracting to ourselves, is what we really want. So don't just bring it to yourself, draw things to yourself because you have that power on, what day was this, Friday? Do it because you really want it, you know? I think it's important for us to remember that. The easier part of this aspect is remembering that if you just take a step back, you can notice, because you're magnetic during this time, everyone is to some degree or another, that things will come to you. So that may be the easier way to handle this energy, because this is an intense energy, especially regarding love. This can also be explosive a little bit. If you're not in a good space with a relationship, you could see a kaboom. Hopefully you let go of that kind of stuff when Venus was conjunct Saturn on Wednesday, but if not, Friday may become the kaboom. You know, when we hold on, that's when we have the problems with Saturn. Sometimes we hold on and we're just human because we're like, oh, but we love it, but it's really not meant for us. And Saturn is like, okay, well, you don't want to listen, then we'll just make you. And sometimes that happens, and this would be a perfect kind of like, you know, scenario for it to happen like on Friday, and you have no choice but to let go because you feel compulsive, and so does the other person, and it feels like there's a pulling apart, you know, that could go on. So this is an energy. I think it's important for us all to go, hey, okay, we feel this deep desire to be real and authentic with ourselves. And then we feel this desire to rebuild ourselves in some healthy way. I think that's what this week is all about. And I think it's a good opportunity for us to get to start to do that. So moving on, Saturday the 14th, there's no exact aspects. Sunday the 15th, we have Jupiter trine Uranus. This happens at 4:02 a.m. This does kind of start on the 12th, and it goes to the 19th. The peak is on the 15th, so that's Sunday. So it goes into next week. So Jupiter trine Uranus, this is a longer one. What it does is it brings about an excitement to look beyond what is your normal circle of life. It brings some new insight into the picture, something new for us to think about, something where we may want to say, okay, let's really be present in the moment, but let's also explore things that we have been attracted to and wanted to explore, but maybe haven't for whatever reason. It's an opportunity for us to set big goals in the present moment for things that we wish to happen in our lives. Expression of dreams is also something that might be prevalent during this time. I think that it's really an opportunity for us to be present and to expand our ideas and our thoughts and our emotions, and even our awareness, because Jupiter is about our awareness, especially in the present moment. So definitely make that happen for yourself. I love this energy because, you know, Uranus brings us into the present moment, which is the only time that we have, which is very true. Everybody can say that. And Jupiter is like saying it's big. It's a big deal. It's not little. You know, it kind of goes out of proportion. It's like I've heard an astrologer call it the magnifying glass in the sky, and it is. And a trine is a nice energy. So this is a nice energy. It lasts a few days into next week. So that's nice. So that wraps up my astrology. I'm going to share the crystal for the week. This is a rainbow gemstone. It is a raw chunk. I couldn't find a non-raw piece, so sorry about that. I wanted to share with you, but you might not be able to see it because of the lighting in here. It's very strong. There's like a flashy kind of color in it. The black here is black tourmaline. Black tourmaline often shows with rainbow moonstone, but rainbow moonstone is wonderful for helping with psychic perception, helping you figure out what you want to do with yourself. It connects with the Gemini full moon. So it gives us confidence, and it also helps to bring an inner peace within yourself. So this is a really nice energy stone to work with for the full moon, even for the week ahead. It's gentle because it helps us to feel calm and peaceful within ourselves. And it helps us to even balance ourselves. With this black tourmaline, you can get you can get a piece of black tourmaline and use it in conjunction if you just have a rainbow moonstone, or you can get a piece like this, or, you know, work with just rainbow moonstone. Either works, but black tourmaline does bring an element of balance and a good feeling, a good vibe to the energy too. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I also want to invite you guys back to come to my show next week. Next week, I will be talking about a lot of different things. I thought I had a little list of what things that were going on next week. Oh yeah, Venus in Aquarius. Oh my goodness, I love Venus in Aquarius. That's my natal placement of Venus. Sun into Capricorn, and also the winter solstice next weekend. So come back, watch my video next week. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you look at the description box below for all the links and things that I'm doing. Check out Tico's daily forecast with the AstroTarot readings that he's doing. Check out the Vibrational Astrology Conference. And feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I appreciate every one of you for watching. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Namaste, everybody. Bye-bye.